What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG, and this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 6, Episode 1, and it's called Chapter 96, Welcome to Rivervale. This episode, and this week, NB is out on vacation, but joining me this episode, you may know her from her flawless Twitter account, NoContextRVD. If you haven't, check it out right now. Our friend Macy, welcome back to Recap Rewind. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited, especially for this episode. There's a lot to talk about.
Lots and lots to talk about. So perfect person to have on the pod. Make sure you guys check out and stay into the end of the episode. We're going to do our recap roundups, our MVPs, our LVPs, best moments, WTF moments, and best lines. So stick around for that. And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let us get into this episode.
Yes.
So right off the top, just general impressions without getting into too much. What were your thoughts on this episode?
I did not know what to expect. Yeah. Truly. I don't know. I don't know. Everything was just so off about the episode in a good way. Like, of course, it's like Rivervale, so of course things are gonna be off. But I did not expect the things that happened to have happened.
Yeah.
And I was just like in shock the whole time. I was like, what's gonna happen next? Like, I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So.
And it's almost like in a like you were saying, it's in a good way because you're really like not watching. You're watching Riverdale, but it's not Riverdale. So it's very, very confusing, and it's tied into the same storylines from last season. So you're just like, is this real? What is happening?
How is this gonna work? Like, because I think Roberto even said that these 5 episodes tie into the rest of the season. Right. Like, you can't just watch the rest of the season. You have to watch these 5 to understand what's going on. It's like, how is this going to work?
How is that going to connect? And you're absolutely right. And one of the things that we were arguing in the very beginning was when we first found out about these 5 episodes was it's not an AU. It's not an alternate universe. That was said originally. But RAS is a liar, clearly, because there's no way. I mean, I can't imagine it being any more than that.
Exactly, like, because any theory that you have about Rivervale, it's like, oh, it's a dream, it's Jughead's book, it's something like that. And it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense if it's all canon, basically.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So I don't know what to think.
Anyway, we'll get into more of those details and continue to theorize as we get through the episode. So let's start off right off the top. Starts off with Jughead narrating, "Welcome to Rivervale," and he plays this Alfred Hitchcocky kind of character, looking at the camera, talking to the audience, and he kind of goes through and starts visiting everybody. He starts with visiting Fangs and Toni, and their drama this week is they're tired from baby Anthony. He's got colic. He's crying. And then he pops into Pop's diner. Tabitha is getting the keys from the new landlady because they're moving in together, as we know. And then he pops into the Pembroke, and Veronica and Reggie are, of course, doing a jog, getting all fit while they're running a new business, which is 2 things that I can't do at the same time, clearly. And then we have the Cooper residence. Frank is helping Alice with fixing a sink, and she wants him to stay for breakfast. So we know that like there's some things are happening there. And then finally ends off at the Andrews residence, where basically Jughead has like a very awkward moment where he's like, you don't want me to get into this, but my best friend and my ex-girlfriend are upstairs. And it cuts to Betty and Archie in bed, and Archie's waking up almost from the dream that we had from the season finale, which is when there was a bomb that was discovered under his bed, planted by Hiram, allegedly, and he wakes up from the explosion. And he even goes on to say to Betty, like, it was such a weird dream because we were in a place called Riverdale. And even Betty was like, Riverdale with a D? And it's weird because like on the other side of it, we're like, no, Riverdale with a V is crazy. Like, what are you talking about?
like that just opens up a whole thing about it being Riverdale being a dream this whole time, and it's like I can't put any more of these theories in my head. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's so much.
It's
And
too
that's only
much.
like the first maybe 3 minutes of what you just said, is just the first 3 minutes of the show, and it's like already so much.
Yeah, exactly. You're already just like, okay, so what's happening? This person's doing this, and
Yeah.
okay, cool. So in the scene in the bed, it cuts to Kevin. He calls, and he's like, you guys need to come to the woods. So then it cuts to the woods, and he was running around, and he found a deer that's been sacrificed on a stone, and there's symbols, rune symbols, written in blood around this deer. And Cheryl shows up with like her gang of girls and tells them to leave. She says that they're on like Blossom property. You cannot be here anymore. I wrote down, who are all these girls outside of Britta? Like, who is this? Like the whole cheer squad? Like, what's the
Well,
deal?
in the finale, Cheryl said she was starting a school for girls. So it's a
Right.
school, but also in my notes I wrote, whose parents would let their kids go to this?
This is what
Like,
I'm saying. Yeah. I'm like,
I
unless
mean,
it's an orphanage, I'd get that. But
yeah, it
I,
has to be, because there's no way some kids' parents would be like, yeah, we're gonna let our
let this
child live with this crazy woman.
like roam the woods wearing some very interesting choices of outfits. Um,
Very.
so anyway, so that's happening. Another mystery, again, to your point, dropped on us. What is this
Hmm.
deer? Why? What is Cheryl doing? We know that she's kind of getting into the pagany, wiccany stuff right now. So, okay, a deer is killed in the woods. Cool. Then it cuts to our guy, Dr. Curdle Jr., in his
My
office.
man.
Your man
My
is back in
man.
his world, but he's like a doctor, like he's like a generalized like
Yeah.
physician in this world, which is really interesting.
I was not expecting that. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but he has long hair. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
wow. Like, I'm very, very intrigued with Dr.
Very
Curdle
intrigued.
Jr. this season.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, this is an interesting take, and he's not just talking about bodies and death, but
I'm guessing
um
he's the only doctor in Rivervale,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
because
And
he's
I guess
doing everything.
yeah, and they never really had, now that I think about it, they've never had any like hospital scenes where they have actual doctors in Riverdale. Like there's never like a real doc. Is there? Am I wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, there's Dr. Patel that they've gone to a couple of times.
Okay.
I watch this show a lot, so I know
No,
like
you know it all.
random stuff like this. And then there was Dr. Masters, who the Black Hood killed, but he was talked about a little bit in like the earlier seasons.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah.
So he's the one now.
Yeah.
I guess he's the go-to.
He's the only one.
Yeah. So it's Fangs and Toni, and they're talking to him, saying that baby Anthony, he diagnoses him with colic.
Mhm.
This is the part then it starts to like take a little turn again, once again, for the weird and the bizarre. Dr. Crudel Jr. decides that the best remedy for this is to put a toad in baby Anthony's mouth. Was that like, wasn't really
That
thoughts on
was
that?
very odd. But it's Riverdale, but
Yeah.
that's even odd for Riverdale,
Yeah.
and that says a lot. Um, it's kind of weird that you know, they were so against the toad, but leaving your baby in the woods,
Did every yeah,
totally fine, totally
totally
fine.
good with that. That
Yeah,
makes a lot more sense. No,
so much more sense.
exactly. And it's really interesting because I I picked up on the toad, and then, not to, I mean, we're spoiling it anyway as you go through this episode, but like there's spiders involved at one point, there's cockroaches
Hmm.
involved at one point. So then I was like, is it like a nature thing?
Oh,
Is it like certain
now I'm
elements or insects tie into something? Like but then I was like, I haven't, I don't know if there's a big connection there, but who
huh.
knows?
That no, I think you're on to something. I really think you are, because I don't want to get ahead, but with the spider,
Mm,
that's a very Cheryl thing.
very much,
It
yes.
maybe she had something to do with the frog,
Hmm.
but since they didn't do the actual remedy, she tried to find a different way to. I have a theory coming up once we get
Okay,
more
let's get
into
into
it,
that. All
but
right,
yeah.
cool. Okay, so they obviously decide that they're not going to do that. Then they move on. Then it cuts to the new apartment. Archie and Betty are helping Tabitha and Jughead move into their new apartment, which isn't the nicest, but they're moving in. And it's really cute. There's a moment where Tabitha and Betty have a really quick conversation. And she talks about how, like, you're with Archie. Like, I guess that's a thing now. And Betty has a really sweet moment where she says, I feel like all my high school life, I was thinking about who I was going to end up with. Was it going to be Archie or was it going to be Jughead? And now, like, she's like, now I have it. And you being, I'm sure we're going to be talking, this is going to be a BARCHIE podcast, basically. But I know that you're a big fan of BARCHIE, just like we are.
I am.
What did it feel like hearing those words come out of her mouth? For me, it felt almost surreal, but yeah, what was your take?
It felt so nice to see that nobody was fighting over each other or feeling jealous or anything like that. It was just like a nice, like, Betty and Tabitha just having a nice conversation, like supporting each other. It was just like really nice because for so many seasons there's been these, who's dating who, like, people are secretly jealous and all this stuff. And now it's just like, we're both happy and we're both happy for each other. And it was just really nice to see something different like that.
For sure. I agree 100%. So then it cuts to our other favorite new couple. Veronica and Reggie are in her office and she's talking to one of her buddies in New York who's basically kind of pooping all over her idea of this casino, saying like, it's just a temporary thing. You're probably going to get back here in New York sometime soon. Yeah. And so she hangs up with him and Reggie kind of doubts her. He's like, are you really serious about staying for this casino? Like, what's your deal? And she kind of has to reassure him and say, like, no, like, I'm in here for the long haul. What's your first take coming back from season 5, like, to season 6? What's your first take on, like, the rocky storyline that they're kind of giving Veronica and Reggie, like, right out the gate?
I was actually really surprised because I thought they were going to be like a power couple going right into the season. Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that, but it really seems like they just have to, there's some things they need to work out because Veronica is like, she seems really like work forward and not really thinking about her relationship, and especially, with the whole, her not giving him an office thing.
Yeah.
It's like she's thinking everything as a partnership and not as a relationship. So I think that just goes in with how every couple seems to have a issue right now and how it like will tie together.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I agree with you. I was kind of surprised that it happened so early on for them. Like between Archie, Betty, Tabitha and Jughead, they don't really have any current issues, like, as we're talking in this part of the episode. So to see Veronica and Reggie already have like a little bit of strife and him feeling a little jealous or whatever you might want to call it, frustrated with her, it's like, oh, they're really setting them up to be like not super happy right now. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting take, but okay, let's go. So then it cuts to, they're hosting a town hall meeting. I don't know why they're not using the town hall. They're doing it at the El Royale. What are your thoughts on that? It's just like, okay. No, same set. I don't know.
I remember them saying in the finale something about the town hall not being safe.
Oh,
like a fire hazard or something. I can't remember. But yeah, it's really weird that they decided. I think it actually might be because they can't have like a full group of people for COVID, so they made it smaller.
Smaller space.
Yeah, smaller space so they could just have like the main people there.
The main people in there.
Maybe.
Okay. I'd see that. That makes sense. We'll take it. We'll take that theory. So our one of the big things that Archie talks about is the fact that because they've lost Cheryl's maple trees, he wants to offer to buy every family a maple sapling so they can plant them themselves, right? Or they have to purchase the tree that gets then planted in Rivervale. To, I guess, like replenish that, and then they have a plan to start their own, I guess, maple syrup company. And then this kind of gets back to Cheryl because it cuts back to Thornhill, and Cheryl talks about how the trees are dying. She's talking to her, I don't know, children of the corn, who knows what you want to call them. And she says, we have to go back to the old ways, the Wiccan ways, when we would offer things up to the Maple Maiden, something called the Maple Maiden. And then she goes on to say Archie is also trying to steal her thunder and her maple magic, whatever you want to call it. So she's planning something.
Oh, absolutely.
Then it cuts to the Andrews residence, and Archie gets off the phone with his mom, and he alludes to a conversation that Betty says is about marriage. And then she kind of goes on to say, like, we don't want to get married though. Like, like all of the couples that we know that are married are miserable or dead or whatever. So that kind of conversation went on. But then he says, no, it wasn't really about marriage. It was about having kids. And I think in this particular moment, they both decide to, they want to have kids now-ish. But they want to take it kind of like naturally. They want to like kind of go with the flow, see where things go. Archie's clearly very gung-ho. He's like, let's get married or let's have kids right now. And Betty's kind of in the same boat. So clearly they're going to want to try to start having kids.
Yeah.
But I don't want to gloss over the fact that Betty doesn't want a marriage. Is this something that stuck out to you at all? Yeah. What was your thought on this?
Well, first of all, I think Mary needs to chill out a little bit. She's like putting a lot of
she's
pressure.
Not even here. Like, where is she?
She's putting a lot of pressure on them. Like, I think they've only probably been dating for maybe a couple of months at this point.
Yeah.
Like, calm down, Mary.
Calm down. Yeah.
But I think Betty will warm up to the idea eventually, but I do see where she's coming from, especially, with her family's history, just with everything,
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. She knows her mom's history and everything. She just doesn't want to go down the same path in any way, I guess. But I think that'll change for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. And it's interesting because even when she said it, I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. But then, I think because in the Riverdale canon, like what we've seen so far, we've seen like the dream sequence with Veronica in the white dress. We never saw like the wedding dress on Betty. And like, I don't know, maybe just because I can't visualize it, I'm like, yeah, girl, you don't need to get married. Like, it's fine. Like, go for it, do your thing.
Yeah, that's true. Which is totally fine if they don't want to get married,
Do your thing, exactly.
Do your thing.
So then it cuts to Jughead at the apartment, and it's morning time, so he pours himself a bowl of cereal and a bunch of cockroaches pour right out with them. Blech. Disgusting, so gross,
awful.
Not a good shot. I wasn't feeling that for sure. Then it cuts to the front of Pop's diner, and Archie's giving away these, or he's selling off these maple trees or whatever. He set up something, and this is when Cheryl and her gang of girls come through, and she says that she wants to buy some, and he says no because he says, like, you're not even a part of the town anymore. You're the one that decided to leave. If you want to rejoin, then you can. You're always welcome to. And she basically says, over your dead body. Because he says, over your dead body. Like, he points to her, and she was like, no, over yours. Which I guess alludes to the end of the episode.
Yeah, she was definitely planning that. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. There was a few lines this episode that were like, okay, we get it. Something crazy is about to happen with a heart and death. And okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to our man, Dr. Crudel Jr.'s office, and Betty's in there for a physical, and he goes on to tell Betty that it's going to be difficult for her to conceive a child. Her eggs aren't doing so great. And he says that she's in good company. I mean, I don't know if that's good company, but like, she's not the only one who's dealing with this. She's the fifth woman to come in that is essentially barren, which I was like, did you have to say it like that?
Yeah. Also, that line was very interesting. Like, why would he say that? Seems like something's going on, that there was a reason why he said that. So I'm not sure what, but something's up with that.
a
But
part
yeah,
of me,
why do you say only the consolation is, you're not the only one?
you're
Like,
not alone. Yeah.
okay.
I'm like, thanks for that. Appreciate that there's a support group for people who are barren right now in
Yeah.
Riverdale specifically. Yeah, definitely I definitely feel that that's going to come up again, and especially the way that the episode kind of keeps going with the fertility thing coming up later, and the poppets coming up that have to do with fertility. I'm like, I wonder where they're going to angle this. How is Cheryl going to help? Because like at this point in time, she's a bit of an antagonist, and maybe this is like her way through, is like to help the people of Riverdale or
Yeah.
Rivervale have babies. Anyway, speaking of babies, cuts Fangs and Toni, and baby Anthony is still crying a lot, and he talks about how his mom told him that back in the day the serpents would leave their babies in the woods overnight and basically cry the colic out. I just wrote WTF.
Yeah.
So I was like, what?
He said it so like casually, and
So casually.
Toni didn't have kind of the same reaction as she did with the toad, which is kind of concerning. I mean, she was still like, what? But not the same.
Not the
But
same.
the fact that Fangs was just like, it'll make him strong or something like that.
Yeah. I was like, are we
what?
really doing that right now though? Like, yeah, exactly.
Really
I was
gonna
like,
leave a baby in the woods. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody thinks this is a great idea. Cool.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like outside of like what happens at the end of the episode, I was like, that is just a little too far. Like there's no one in the world that would ever do that.
No.
But anyway, she kind of is like, all right, maybe we will consider it. So then it cuts to Veronica calling Reggie into a room, and she's like, this is how I want to express my love for you, or my compassion for you, or all the things that you've done. And she's like, here is a bed of money and cash. And she says that one of my fantasies has always been to like have sex on a bunch of money.
I'm surprised she hasn't already done that, honestly.
Same, exactly. I actually was thinking the exact same thing, but I also wrote down, that sounds painful. Like, does everyone ever think about the logistics of these ideas?
Yeah, that doesn't sound the most comfortable.
Yeah, like paper cuts, like I'm not down. I'm not down for any of that. No. So anyway, they end up they bang on this bed of money, and I guess that's just like a band-aid solution to their clearly growing issues. Then it cuts to Frank and Alice over dinner, and she's like, our girl, she's direct, she knows what she wants, she's gonna tell it like it is. She says she likes him, and then she wants him to stay the night, and he says that he cannot go there.
Who rejects Alice?
How dare they?
She is like insanely gorgeous. How do you say no?
Yeah, I know. I mean, he does give a decent reason after.
Yeah.
But in this moment, I was like, Alice just can't catch him.
Not again. Not again.
Exactly. And she even says it herself. She's like, I always fall for these silent types. Like, what the hell is wrong with me?
But when she was so direct with him, I was just like rooting. I was just like, let's go,
Same.
Alice.
I was like, do it.
You've been through so much. You've been so sad. It's time for you to get back out there and be happy. I was excited for her.
Are you rooting for them? Like, are you hoping that happens?
I've always been a Alice fan, and I always will be. Mm-hmm. But overall, Alice being happy has always been like my number one thing. And so I'm for Alice. I guess that's what we're calling it.
Yeah, I guess that's the new one.
I'm for it. I really think, I don't know, there's like we'll probably talk about it more later, but there's just like a softness between them that I really like. And they're really open with each other. So it's different. And I mean, I wish they would have did that with Alice. Like, where was that content for the past, 4 years?
Exactly.
5 years, whatever. But yeah,
I know.
I'm for it.
I feel the same exact way. I would love to see them together. I think they both have similar traumas, like not the
Mhm.
same, but similar enough that they could like get through it and understand each other on a different level. Um, one of the things that I was always interested in, I brought it up with NB last season, was knowing that they were going to start to pair them up together. Do we think that, like Frank is going to have a conversation about him in high school? Like, what was Frank's life in
I was
Riverdale?
wondering that too.
Right?
When exactly like when they started talking about how they were going to be paired up, I thought about that too. I was like, he's younger than Fred, right? He's like the
Yeah.
younger brother.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, if he knew the gang, like, what's his
Yeah.
connection with everyone? Like, have Alice and Frank known each other since high school? Like,
It would have been
what's the
cool to see if
deal?
there was a connection there, like, like if she had
Yeah,
a nickname for him or something, but
yeah,
I guess maybe they're not doing that because we also don't know, like, did Frank leave? Like, I know that he was a bit of a delinquent, right? Like, he kind of like was the bad boy brother, wasn't he?
yeah.
As far as I remember.
If I remember correctly, he like had, well, he was a mercenary, and
Mhm.
then he was an alcoholic, and Fred took the fall for his DUI, and that like
Right.
started a rift between them, and so Frank wasn't really in their life and stuff.
So
So
yeah, maybe there is
yeah,
a I mean, it'll be interesting. To your point, if they give a little bit more than they gave us for FP and Alice with Frank and
yeah,
Alice, then I'm down. I think that she deserves a little bit of strife, not too much,
yeah, yeah,
more happiness than anything else.
definitely.
But they're a really cute couple, like both
They
beautiful
are.
people. Like
And
I'm
it
down.
it really seems like this is the first time Alice is getting her own storyline. Like, her and Betty didn't have any interaction,
Yeah.
which I love, like the Cooper dynamic, but it is nice to see Alice have her own thing going on. So I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
enjoyed that.
I mean,
And her
especially
dresses.
since
Whew, I loved them.
Yeah, I mean, especially since the last couple seasons, especially last season was very heavy on the dynamic between Betty and Alice and losing Polly and
Hmm.
all that mess. So you're right, having kind of her on her own, doing her own like mom thing, I'm into it. I'm
Yeah.
totally into it.
Yeah, definitely.
So then it cuts to the Andrews residence in the living room, and again, Betty and Archie are talking about having kids. And he says, like, I'm willing to support you in the journey of whatever we end up doing. Cause she even starts to talk about wanting to adopt now that she knows about the situation with her eggs. And she wants everything. She says I think more than anything else, she still kind of does express like, I want to have a child with you. I don't know
Mhm.
if that really entails like, I want to have a blood child with you, but like all we know is the need and want for a child is like increasing by the minute between the
Yes.
two of these,
It's like
this
it has
couple.
to happen now, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel about that? I know that there's been some Twitterverse talking about, this is too soon, and of course the VARCHIE fans are like, they moved in
Yeah.
so quickly and blah 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 blah. So like, what are your thoughts on this baby talk right away?
I did not expect it, before we saw the first promo. Like, I was totally not expecting that at all. I do think it's too soon, like, especially
Mm,
because we kind of did the Toni storyline, being pregnant, having a
true.
baby. And so it's kind of like we're doing it again this season. Like, when's Veronica gonna have a kid? And then we have the storyline again. Like,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
I think like maybe not right now is the best time. Which I don't know how, if she's actually pregnant, in this Rivervale. Like, is she in Riverdale? Like,
Yeah,
so I
that's
don't
the
really
wacky thing
know
about it
the
for sure.
logistics of this. So I'm not sure if it's like real.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I do think it's a little soon.
I think it's a little soon too. I think it needed a little bit more time. We never got them as like a couple just enjoying each other
Yeah,
and
right.
adventuring together and doing things outside of trying to have a baby. Like,
Yeah.
even the Bughead fans out there got like the sleuthing and like the detective work outside of the
Hmm.
romance between
Right.
Jughead and Betty. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that partnership that we saw glimpses of throughout
Hmm.
last season and throughout the last 4 seasons, really. But I'd really like to see a little bit more of that before they get to the baby thing. But I
Right.
really think that the resolve is going to be They're likely not going to have a child in the next little while, probably not by the end of the season for sure. I know that that is their long game, and that's what they've teased from the beginning. RAS has always said, like, it's going to pretty much end when Archie has this child, right? Or has a baby. And yeah, I think it's a little too soon, and probably they're going to end off being like, this is too fast. Maybe we should slow down, blah, 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 blah. We have a bit of trauma to deal with and all that kind of stuff. So
let's
I
just
do think that they're
enjoy
gonna pull
living
us back.
together.
Exactly. Like one thing at a time.
Yeah, please.
So speaking of babies, it cuts to Toni in the woods with baby Anthony crying his eyes out, and they bump into Cheryl, who I guess they were in the woods. So obviously Cheryl's going for a walk in the woods in the middle of the night.
Of course.
Typical. And she takes the baby, and he stops crying almost right away. And she's like, how did you even do that? And Cheryl says, I have this like special perfume concoction. And she says, I can give you like something that's a little bit more, long lasting if you agree to kind of help with something, help with a ritual, I think she even says. And Toni says, like, what do I have to do exactly? And she says, for now, you just have to kind of watch and kind of be a part of it. And then we'll take it from there. So Toni kind of becomes, and I didn't even realize this probably until like the last few frames of the episode, or probably even until the episode was over, that she slowly starts to promise things to different people in the episode. Because I was like, what is she planning to do? So Toni, I guess, is her first technical recruit, and then she goes on to do a similar thing to everybody else.
And you see it all come to fruition at the end, because everybody has a part in the ritual that she helps them, they help her, and that's how they all got there.
Exactly. So then it cuts to Tabitha waking up screaming that something's biting her, and she's freaking out. Jughead says there's nothing there. And then they go back to bed. The next morning, he wakes up, and in the shower, she sees bites on his back, and she's like, yo, we got bed bugs. We got something. Like, this is a mess. Like, what's going on? They really honed in on Tabitha being terrified and scared of like literally every insect. And don't get me wrong, not a big fan of insects myself, but I don't understand why they focus so much like on the bites. Like, what was it all about? Like, why did we have to have like 3 extra scenes for us to confirm that they need to get an exterminator? I was kind of confused by that.
Yeah, that is true.
Was it weird to you, or was it just like...
No, it was weird, and I definitely noticed like Tabitha being so afraid, and Jughead was like, we'll just, bleach the sheets, and she's like, no, you can't do that, and all this stuff. And it was like, there must be something else with it. Like, maybe Tabitha is afraid that this is jinxing them living together. Like, she's really worried about her first time living with a guy, being ruined or something. So I think there's more to it with that.
I like that theory for sure. So then it cuts back to Thornhill. Cheryl is telling all the girls to make poppets, these little totems. And then it cuts to Archie the next morning with the boys getting this field of the saplings. They want to like dig it up and put the saplings in there. But instead, it's these poppets that they made the night before, like with sticks, and they're all kind of put in the same area that they were going to plant the trees. And obviously Archie gets like annoyed, frustrated. He talks to Betty later, and he says how everybody was like freaked out and all the boys were kind of nervous the entire time. And she looks at the poppet, and Betty says that it seems very similar to a cold case that she came across. And she says, like, can I borrow this? I'm just going to do a little bit digging. Our girl doing the sleuthing, of course. And then it cuts to Reggie and Veronica talking through the blueprints, the casino blueprints. And she did not even give this poor man an office. Like, what the hell? What the hell?
What was she thinking? Like, I can't even like imagine, like, how did she not think of that?
Like, I'm so frustrated. Like, season by season, I'm frustrated with this character, and I want her to have what she deserves in terms of a great storyline, and we know that she has the potential to do it. She had such a great setup, even with Hiram as a support, and she's just becoming such an unlikable character, and I don't know why they're doing it, and I don't know what what the end result is. Like, how could you be such a careless person? You're not focused on that. Means that you're literally focused on nothing but the business and yourself.
Yeah.
If you can't even think about getting an office for your boyfriend, like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
And business partner.
I don't know what her deal is. Something's off, but you know, something's off about everything, but
Yeah,
definitely something, I don't know. She's very focused. I I feel like she's focused on something maybe we don't know about yet. Something's
maybe
like I don't know.
distracting her.
Something,
Maybe you're thinking.
yeah. Yeah, especially because of the casino thing. Like they're like, "Are you sure this is what you want?" So they're kind of iffy about that.
Right.
So it's just like something's got to be more to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know what her end game is at this point in time because, of course I want her and Reggie to work out and have this like great thing, but a part of me almost feels like they're just doing these little things just to give her a storyline. But her
It
storyline
wasn't a
is
strong start for her. It
no,
it wasn't a
not at
strong
all.
start.
I was very disappointed, as I have been for a little bit of time with Veronica's character and how she just kind of flounders through her life and constantly just thinks about herself. She never really gets in and does anything for anyone else. Like, it's kind of wild. Anyway, that's their drama right now. Cuts to our boy Kevin calling Archie, saying that he went for a run and someone ripped all of the maple trees out of the area that they just planted them. So Archie gets pissed off. He storms into the council meeting that was happening in someone's office, I think, and
Yeah.
accuses Cheryl of doing it. And Toni stops him in his tracks and says, actually, we were just talking to Cheryl, and Thornhill is going to be hosting a like festival for the entire town, like a fall festival, and everyone's invited. And Toni has just accepted for all of Rivervale to go to this festival.
Mm.
And Archie just kind of has to sit there and be like, okay, cool. I guess this is what's happening. Then it cuts to Betty, and she's going through the old evidence that she found in the cold case, and she finds another old poppet, almost exactly the same as the one that Cheryl was making, and she very distinctly reads like the tiniest writing that says RB, and she makes the connection that it's Rose Blossom.
I didn't. I didn't make that connection. I was like, RB.
Yeah.
Who has RB? She immediately knew.
Yeah. She was like, Rose Blossom. Got it. I know. I was like, who is that? Who could that be? Maybe if I had like a time, if I paused it and I like actually like just like sat and listened, I was like, maybe she can get it.
True. You don't have time. There's so much going on.
It's true. It's true. So then she obviously goes and stops over to Cheryl's and sees she kind of walks and she says she got in with a little bobby pin. And of course, and Cheryl's like, what are you doing here? And she talks about this cold case, and apparently a drifter was found dead on their property with a poppet stuffed in his mouth. Is that correct? Was that what you got from the story?
Yeah, he was like on the little sacrificial thing that the deer was on.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't really get into any detail. Like, we just get like the very quick scene of her confronting her and then like nothing after that. And it's hard for me to believe that Betty didn't get answers from Cheryl.
After that interaction, that's when Betty starts acting weird after that. Like at the Maple Festival, she's like so off, and I feel like something with Cheryl happened in her house.
Very good point.
They talked about something, like she talked about the infertility or something, because that's when she just acted just not herself.
You're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. That's very true. But I wonder why they didn't show us that scene. Maybe it would have been too much bait to know what happens by the end of it.
I think maybe they'll come back to it. Maybe Cheryl will talk about how she fooled everyone. Because my theory, I guess I'll say my theory.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I think Cheryl did all these things to them. She made all these issues happen, so they'll come to her, and she can fix them, and in return, she gets their help.
Right.
And so basically with Betty, she, helped her with that, and just That I feel like that's what it is. You know, everyone is just helping Cheryl because they want their problems fixed that Cheryl caused in the first place that they
Right.
come to her. So
Right.
I think
That makes
that
sense.
yeah, I mean, because it seems like everyone has a problem except for Kevin. Um,
Which, yeah,
he's just
Kevin.
calling everyone.
He's literally just jogging, running around, and calling people. That's
He
his job
calls
this
people
week.
maybe like 4 times in the episode, and it's like,
Yeah.
is that just his job now?
Even all the way to the end of the episode, he gives people calls. So true. That is so funny. Yeah, absolutely.
But yes,
Yeah,
something's with that for sure.
that's a good theory. I like that actually. I like that a lot. So with that, it cuts to Frank talking to Alice, and he kind of tells his full story. He says when I was a mercenary, I had to, I had a wife and a kid, and when but it was all a secret because he was a mercenary. But when it came out that he was a mercenary, they got killed. Is that correct? He doesn't really like finish his sentence, so I'm not like, did they die or did they leave you? Like,
Yeah,
what's
the
the
fact that he
deal?
didn't clarify, like obviously I feel like maybe they want us to assume, but at the same time it's like, okay, if you don't directly say something in Riverdale, like I don't trust you.
Yeah, 100%. Unless you said that
So,
you buried your daughter or
yeah,
child and your wife, then I think they're gonna come back to life.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna need to see the obituaries because I
Yeah.
don't believe you.
Exactly.
But he said
100%.
he wants to get back into it eventually. So I'm guessing maybe they are, or at least the wife. But that was a very soft moment.
I loved
That was
it.
I
It was
loved
very
how
sweet.
vulnerable Frank is, and like he even teared up and she like cupped his
Yeah.
face. That was really sweet.
Very sweet. Great acting between the two of them. It
Yes.
shows his range, obviously, because he is this
Mm-hmm.
burly guy, but then has these emotional moments. He's had them with
Mm-hmm.
Archie, but it was really sweet to see him with Alice.
Yeah.
Super, super sweet. Um, but yeah, still don't know if they got killed. A bit of a mystery, but yes, they're gonna take it slow and they're gonna go to the Maple Fest together. So then it cuts to Pop's diner, and Cheryl sees Tabitha and her bites, and she's like, "Oh my god, like what happened there?" And she
Girl, you
offers,
know.
yeah, she knows what's happening. There's spiders in there that you put in there.
Mm-hmm.
And she offers to help, but she again says she needs her to participate as well as Jughead in this Maple Festival situation. Then it cuts to Thornhill, and she is teaching her Children of the Corn to make a sin pie.
Her master class in cooking.
Her cooking master class, exactly. It's like Selena cooks, it's like Cheryl cooks.
Yeah.
And she says how back in the day someone would eat this pie, someone who's brave and strong, to carry all the sins of the town. I was kind of interested in this concept, actually. I was like, can we bring sin pies back? It's cute. Carry all the shit for everybody else. Let's do that. So obviously she's going to be giving it to someone right away. My first thought was like, brave, strong. It's Archie. Like this poor guy's going
Who
down.
else?
Yeah, exactly. So then it cuts to Archie and Betty talking about Cheryl being shady at Thornhill. So that same conversation, which now to your point, if she didn't divulge all the information that she gave, because she basically said like it was a dead end. Cheryl didn't really, she gave me the runaround, didn't get any information. So I'm going to snoop when we go to this Maple Festival. If she lied to him in this point in time, I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
It creates a little bit of, I mean, he's dead, I guess now, but I mean, spoiler alert. But anyway, we'll get to that. So then it cuts to the Maple Festival. And Betty and Archie, right from the beginning, bump into Fangs and Toni. And baby Anthony's great. And she says, Toni says to Archie, like almost offhandedly says, good luck. Like she says, good luck. And he's like, what? Good luck to what? Like, very confused. And then she just like walks away. She doesn't even like give any explanation.
Yeah.
And
I think she's a little off too.
Yeah.
Like
everybody's got something
off.
going. Yeah, for sure. They know this whole big plan that happens. So then Cheryl is talking to Veronica about Reggie and how he's feeling insecure. I think that's the shot. Oh, wait. No, that happens a little bit. No, that does happen at that point in time. They're doing like the the cutting, right? Like they're doing the
Well, there's the
competition.
pancake eating contest first.
Right, pancake eating contest first. True.
Which Jughead acted really odd.
Very weird because he's like,
when he was
I
like,
need
I love
somebody.
you. Well,
Wait.
but also afterwards when he like grabs Archie and is like, I love you, man. And you would think that like, oh, he's just like overstuffed and like, bleh.
Yeah.
But the way like Archie looks at Jughead and how long that part was, something was weird.
Something was
like it was just really odd.
Right. And even before that, actually, you're right, because that happens a little bit later. Veronica talks to Cheryl about Reggie and how he's feeling insecure, and Cheryl has an idea. So like again, going around recruiting people. So she's already she's now recruited Reggie or Veronica
for the hitting of the head
for the thing, yeah. And then yes, then they have the pancake eating competition. I wrote down they ate 100 freaking pancakes. Like that sounds a little excessive, but okay, cool.
Yeah, I think Archie ate 119.
119 and Jughead ate 116. I was actually surprised because Jughead is usually known to be the one to like chow it down in the comics. So I was like, oh, he's gonna eat like 200. But anyway.
Wait a second. No, I just figured it out. Figured it out.
Yes.
They were all supposed to lose.
Right. So
then remember Veronica, because Veronica says to Reggie, well, you were supposed to lose anyway.
Oh yeah.
That just makes sense now.
Mind blowing. Yes, that makes sense. Absolutely. For sure. You're absolutely right. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Look at us. You're
what
so
a
smart.
revelation.
So Cheryl goes and talks to Alice and Frank. I don't know how she even like brings up a conversation about their troubles, but basically she's like, she ropes them in. And I was like,
I put that in my notes. I was like, why would Alice tell Cheryl? So Cheryl must have come up to them and be like, hey, how's it going? Like baiting them to talk about it.
For sure. But what was their issue? Their issue was just like,
okay, so Cheryl says like if you guys want to move past like your issue, like your past stuff,
issues,
that you're gonna have to. She never really said what she's gonna do, but it's something for sure, like some kind of potion or something like that.
Right. It's all very interesting stuff. So yes, then it cuts to the two hotties, shirtless hotties, Archie and Reggie, and they're cutting these logs. And Reggie does lose, and Veronica does reassure him, like, you were supposed to lose.
Yeah.
You were so smart. That is a good catch. Wow. So yeah, at this point in time, everyone that we know is in on this whole jam. Poor Archie is basically a lamb to the slaughter at this point. At the very end, it says Archie's stack. I wrote down Archie's stack to becoming the Maple King, but at the very last second, Betty challenges him. So this again is, I mean, I don't know if she would have known that she would have won, but at least partnered up. Either way, they would have gotten this pie, right? So
yeah, the way that they didn't even show like Betty winning, I was just like, okay, like
like show us the bullseye.
Yeah. It's very odd, but I think the whole thing was the pie.
Yeah, for sure.
Archie was supposed to eat the pie.
He was supposed to eat the pie, yeah. So they do this axe throwing. He almost gets a bullseye, and then she gets a bullseye because it's assumed that she does, and then she becomes the queen, and he gets this consolation pie, the second win. Then it cuts to home, and Betty finds out that these little poppets are actually fertility dolls, and they're about to eat this pie. There's actually a very sexual shot where he sticks his fingers in to the pie, just like that.
I guess that's what happens when you come on at 9/8 Central now, like late at night. We get shots like that.
We get some softcore, a little bit of softcore in there. Okay, cool. I was like, they're really going there with them. All right, let's do this.
I don't think they're actually fertility poppets, though. I think Betty just said that because it doesn't make sense that they would have made all those poppets and put them in the maple saplings. That doesn't really make sense for the whole town, and it's just for BARCHIE,
Right, exactly. So. Unless there's a connection with the fact that there's all these women who cannot
Yeah,
conceive,
yeah, that's true.
right? So like
Okay,
maybe there's
yeah.
like a whole thing there.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
again, I
true.
don't know why. Anyway, it's always weird because I always feel like Cheryl has this master plan, and even if it is for good, like why couldn't you just explain that to everybody? Like, by the way, I'm just gonna plant these little fertility poppets, so like don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. So clearly we have to think that it's diabolical. So you're
Yeah,
probably
right.
right. There probably aren't fertility poppets, but
I
it's a
don't know.
weird connection.
It's just the first episode.
Right?
Maybe it'll make sense. Like
By the fourth?
yeah.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope.
Yeah, exactly. And then so they're eating this pie. In the middle of eating this pie, she gets very horny and she decides that she wants to have sex on that table in that moment right now. And it's funny because when we reacted to the promo when it first came out, they put this ooky, spooky, scary music on that shot of her on the table, and I was like, "This is very weird." But then they made it super sexy with the music that they put in on this one, and I was like, "Do I feel this? Am I into this now?" Like, I don't know.
I thought it was gonna be like a ritual type thing. Like I thought Archie was gonna get a knife out and like I
go
don't
off.
know.
Or
But
she was gonna do something crazy.
That
like,
was definitely the vibe, but it was not.
it was not. Yeah, that was not it for sure. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, they get it on. And then it's the middle of the night and Archie wakes up again from a phone call from Kevin saying that he needs to come save Betty. She's in trouble. They took her to Thornhill. And already, I mean, this whole episode is fishy because like so many weird things are happening. But already I was like, how would she even get a phone call? Like none of it made sense in terms of getting him there. But okay,
Yeah.
he obviously like takes the bait. He shows up in Thornhill and everybody's doing this ritual. And Betty is like adorned in this beautiful dress, but it kind of looks ritualistic. And she looks at Archie and she says like, I don't know how it happened, but like I'm pregnant, like I have a baby now. But now they have to sacrifice Archie to, I guess, like make this entire thing like blessed or whatever. And everybody's there. So to what we were saying, we got Frank, we got Alice, we got all like the entire gang. Jughead's there. Everyone's partying in the background. And when Archie's about to kind of be like, this is messed up, like what are you gonna do? You can't sacrifice me, or I think originally he was like, don't sacrifice Betty. And Cheryl actually turned around, she was like, actually in my coven, like we don't do women, it's only men. And I was like, okay, like feminism, I'm down for that. And then that's when Veronica hits him over the head with a rock. And then he wakes up, he comes to, he's tied up, he's got a crown on his head. And Cheryl kind of like stabs him. We see the stab. And then like 3 seconds later, just like a heart surgeon, pulls his entire heart right out of his chest. And it's beating. And everyone just starts dancing. And then we can't forget the fact that by the end of the episode, Jughead, our Alfred Hitchcock of the episode, comes out and talks to the audience and says, and that was the end of Archie in the shadow town of Rivervale. But this is not the end. And the one thing that I noticed that I didn't notice, because I feel like they showed the sign a couple of times, the last shot is welcome to Rivervale. And instead of saying the town with pep, it says the town with heart, which was interesting. I was like, oh, okay. Didn't catch that the first time around.
Well, in the first part, when they show the Rivervale sign, I think at the bottom it said like you don't want to leave or something like that.
Oh,
so I think the sign's gonna change each episode because it's given me like an anthology type thing, like it's a different type of story. I mean, it all connects, but I think there's something like that going on, kind of like a story each episode.
I'm into that idea.
I don't know, but maybe
we're just like, sure.
Who knows? The writers are just like, it's Rivervale. We're just gonna throw out ideas and we're gonna do them. You know.
Well, like now we're at the end of the episode. The only question that I wrote down here was, so are we all agreeing that this is not real? like, can you tell us what your theory is now? Like, what is your big, or was it the theory with what you were talking about with Cheryl?
It was the Cheryl one, but
like the zoom out on this like doesn't make sense to me. Like I just can't catch it.
Right. I've tried to think of theories, and I'll have a couple, and then I'm like, but it doesn't make sense. Like my theories don't make sense if it's all canon. Like it's all like one, I don't know, like connects with the rest of the season. Like it,
right.
So my only thing is, maybe Sabrina switches everything back. And that still makes it canon. They all remember Rivervale. So it's still like something they know, but everything gets switched back.
So I'm into that. That makes sense. That makes sense to me for sure.
So that's all I got.
I actually like that. I was like, as you were talking, I was like, there must be something that has to do with Sabrina. They wouldn't have brought her in if it had nothing to do with like something important that has to do with magic or an ability that she might have. So that is a really good point, because you're right. Unless everyone is lying to us and it isn't really canon, the only other thing that I can think of is one of the first things that came to my mind was this heart and this sacrifice and this switch and this. The first thing I was thinking is, like, we do know that by the end of season 5 there was an explosion. How do we know that one of them doesn't have to have like open heart surgery? And like it's all like a symbolism throughout every episode, like some strife happens, but it also feels like it's all based in reality, right? Like everybody is building a casino and trying to have a baby. So like it's so hard for me to understand everything because it's so confusing to me right now.
It's like everything's off, but at the same time there's bits and pieces of Riverdale from last season that are very just them.
It's there,
like you said, like the casino is like something from season 5 that they were doing, and it's like carried over, so it's like them but not them. Because
like how are, like, because that's the thing, like how are we supposed to assume that all these characters were just like totally just sacrifice Archie, like the light of the entire town, and we can just like selfishly have everything that we ever wanted? Like no one would ever do that in regular Riverdale. So the fact that it escalated to this point, but it is canon, is very bizarre to me.
What parts of these characters is not them? It's like like what is the parts that I don't know.
That being said, we're sitting here talking about it. We're intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yes,
I really want to know what's going to happen next. I'm not like, because this kind of stuff can get very cheesy, corny, weird, to the point where just like I'm not down. But something about it is making me intrigued, and really,
it's so much fun.
It was a lot of fun to watch.
I love it.
It was a lot of fun to watch. I'm going to keep moving to a comment from one of our listeners. One of our listeners at Weird Take said, I feel this is what the time jump should have been. I actually thought this was one of the best episodes of season 5, which is crazy considering this is technically its own separate thing. I think they meant season 6, but that's interesting. So like, it sounds like there's relatively interesting reception from this. But Macy, why don't we get into our recap roundups? Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Recap roundups. Best moment.
So what was your best moment?
I don't even remember what I wrote down, but I think
you wrote down domestic Barchie.
Oh yes, domestic Barchie. So much happens in an episode that like I forget things along the way, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened.
That happened.
Yes, the domestic Barchie. I love, even though like the whole baby thing, rushing everything, I loved the little moments of them just talking and being like, I can't wait till we get home, or it was just like really sweet, like the little moments. I really liked those.
Totally. Mine was the sexy times on the table. I was into it. I was feeling it.
When he pulls her,
I was like, let's do this. I'm in. I'm sold.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment? Actually, I can tell you your WTF moment if you want to, and then you could just talk about it.
Yeah.
If you don't have the notes. You wrote down the ritual, ?
Yes.
I mean,
I had like that whole ritual moment. because when you first watch it, everything we talked about, like, it didn't hit me until my second rewatch and talking about it that like so many things made sense.
It's all connecting.
So my first watch, it was just like, how did we get to this point? Like, like I was not expecting any of that. So that was just like a what is going on moment. For sure.
Yeah, it was wild. The first thing that I wrote down for WTF moment was Toni wanting to put this baby in the middle of the woods. I was like, I don't know if this is a great idea, girl. Like, I'm not into this. I don't support it. And then I also wrote down the ending was quite a weird turn for sure.
Yes.
MVP.
Who was your MVP? You didn't write anybody down. So who was your most valuable character of the episode?
I have to give it to Cheryl, because just everything she did was so calculated and she got what she wanted. Like, yes, she's the villain, sort of. Well, no, she is this season, it seems like, but it's just like everything worked out for her how she wanted it to. And rewatching for the second time, it's like you see these little moments, and she did all that, and it's like, you go, girl.
Got it.
You do your thing.
Yeah. You know what's really funny? I struggled with this because I was like, who is my MVP of this episode? And I actually wrote down Cheryl too, because I was like, she's effing over the entire town. I'm kind of down for it. Everybody's gullible, or whatever you want to call it. And you're right. She's like doing the thing. Like, she's actually getting it done.
It was
like,
very
whatever
smart.
her mission is. Smart cookie. She's getting it done.
She killed Archie.
She killed Archie. Things that a lot of people have wanted to do for a very long time.
Where's Hiram in this moment?
Yeah, exactly.
LVP.
Your LVP, you wrote down sus Kevin.
Kevin is so sus. He's a part of this Cheryl thing. I just know it. He's calling everyone on purpose, like, for Cheryl for some reason. Like, something's up.
Yeah.
Something, especially like because he was supposed to be off in like New York or something after.
Yeah,
because he said he was done with Riverdale.
He's done with Riverdale.
Yeah, so something happened over the months. Sus Kevin. Kevin is sus.
Kevin, for sure. My LVP is gonna go to my girl Veronica, because I wrote down, even in Rivervale, she sucks. Even like,
I hope we get some kind of something from her, but yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
The best line.
And I wrote down a best line. Mine was from Cheryl when Betty elects herself to do this thing with Archie, the axe throwing. And she says, "J'adore a good plot twist." Now, looking back on it now, it wasn't even a plot twist for her, because she knew that it was going to all go down.
Of course.
But I just love Cheryl. She has literally the best scripts, best lines.
Yes. I made a recap video for season 5, like, of like funny moments from the season.
Yeah.
I think most of them were Cheryl.
It's
like,
gotta be
I had
Cheryl.
to cut some down because I was like, people are gonna get mad at me if I don't put enough Jughead or something. But like, there were so many good Cheryl ones.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Was there anything stand out that you can remember from this episode?
There are so many good ones, but personally for me, when Alice said "in my bed," I audibly screamed.
Yeah.
So I was like clapping, like, you go, girl. Like,
get it, girl. Yeah.
So personally for me, that one was the best.
I love it. All right, so let's get into our listener roundups real quick as well. At Barchie Live says their best moment was everything Barchie. WTF moment, obviously the ending. RIP Archie ? MVP was Tabitha for being so damn adorable. Very true. LVP, Cheryl or Abigail. Acting wise, she was amazing. I just hate seeing her like that when we know she has a good heart. No pun intended. At This Is Barchie said, best moment, the Barchie scenes because cute. WTF moment, the ending obviously, and Dr. Curdle Jr. suggesting to put a toad in the baby's mouth. MVP Archie because he wasn't insane unlike others. LVP Cheryl because what the hell. Best line, Cheryl, I'm not a virgin. When Archie goes and says that before he gets sacrificed. At Sierra Johnson said, best moment, the ending. I love how Cheryl is full-on villain now, and is really owning the supernatural elements. Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning into it now, so I'm just like, cool. I guess this is where we're going now. WTF moment, Dr. Curdle being a family doctor. I don't like it. Please go back to the creepy Moore guy, please. MVP, Cheryl, hear me out. The subtle planning and going about recruiting people for Archie's sacrifice was so well done, and I actually like the plot and excited to see where it goes. I think that we nailed it on the MVP this episode. Yeah, that's really funny. LVP, Reggie. I get the insecurities, but I feel like it came out of nowhere because he seemed fine before. I agree with you. That being said, they never really explored that because it's been so long since Reggie and Veronica have been together. And
I think Cheryl had something to do with the doubts.
That kind of like, yeah. It would have been cool to see her kind of planting those seeds because like you were saying, like maybe she's deliberately got these.
I think maybe we will. I think they could flash back and we'd see her and Betty talking that we didn't see.
Yeah.
That little,
We still need to see that scene. Yes. If it happens, I'm gonna tweet you.
Okay.
Best line, I didn't know if I was going to end up with Archie or Jughead, but now I have a definitive answer. So cute. I love them together and they have great chemistry. They really do. Honestly, KJ Apa and Lily Reinhart, just the ticket.
Yes.
And then we got just one WTF moment from @MelExtreme84 saying, Archie is sacrifice in homage to the Wicker Man minus the bees. All right, that is a take on that. And that is the episode. I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad, White and Nicole, our Lit Rewinders, Tina, Ann, Soleil, and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders, and a Daddy Rewinder, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, Grace, and Cliff. If you would like to join our Patreon family, don't forget to check us out on patreon.com/recap_rewind. And make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. I want to give a big thank you to our special guest for the season premiere of Riverdale Season 6, our girl Macy at NoContextRVD. Make sure you guys follow her account on Twitter. It is the funniest thing that you're going to see. It's going to brighten up your day every single day. If you're a big fan of Riverdale, she knows exactly which screenshots to capture. There's no context ever needed. It's just a nice little laugh.
Nope.
Do you have any other socials or shout outs that you'd like to put out there?
I have an Instagram that I'm horrible at. It's NoContextRVD_ because some child took the original name. But yeah, I'll try to get better at Instagram. I'll try. But Twitter is really where I am.
Yeah, your Twitter game is fire, so it's okay that you're catching up to Instagram. That's totally fine. But everyone, please check her out. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this very special episode. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.